Before the video begins, I'd like to mention that these are not the most in-your-face and outright horrifying stories. However, they are the most believable and most reliable ones that were sent in to me, not to mention very creepy in their own way. I could definitely see a lot of these happening. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin. Number 1. Over the weekend, about 15 coworkers and myself had our company trip to the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, known for being Stephen King's inspiration for The Shining. We took an 8 p.m. ghost tour where we joined about 15 other people to get guided around the property and told stories about its history and creepy things that are said to have happened. We were told to take a lot of pictures. I'm sure this was to try and capture orbs or ghosts. Many green orbs were caught in pictures, but I don't think anything is as creepy as this photo taken by my coworker. A little girl in a hot pink dress who was definitely not on our tour. And apparently years ago, a young girl who was 12 to 13 by the name of Lucy was squatting in the basement of the concert hall, which is where this photo was taken, and she was discovered upon plans to begin some construction. She was forced to leave, the night got below freezing, and she froze to death. Everyone on my tour has vouched that this girl was not on our tour. I mean, who wouldn't remember someone wearing something hot pink? The man pictured as our tour guide, no one would have been in front of him. I am convinced that this is the ghost of Lucy. Just one more added note, though I doubt anyone would believe me. But there was only one time throughout the tour where I felt any strange energy or feeling. And it was right there, heading down to the basement of the concert hall. Number 2. I used to work at a hotel, mostly night shifts from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I worked at the front desk checking guests in and out. This particular evening, I was all caught up on laundry and I was pretty bored just watching YouTube videos. This is where everything gets pretty weird. I was in the back when the phone rang. I could see if someone was calling from inside a hotel room because the digital reading on the phone read the room number. Room 323 was calling and I picked up. "Front desk, how may I help you?" There was no response. I waited a few seconds for something, but I heard nothing. About 10 minutes later, the phone started ringing again. It was room 323. I didn't think anything of it and picked up again with the same greeting as before. As you can guess, there was no response. I waited a few seconds until I heard a small sigh. This freaked me out and I sorta yelled, "Hello? Can I help you?" The phone hung up. I was pretty spooked at this point. Nothing like this had ever happened before in the 3 months I was working there. I eventually forgot about it when the bell at the front desk rang. I went out to a guest who said there was someone banging on the walls and making noise. I told him I was sorry about that and that I'll write it down and tell my manager in the morning, as there's not much I can really do anyways. I asked him for his room number and he said he was in room 325, right across from 323. I looked up at him for a second when he said this, and he could tell something was off when he saw me. He asked me if everything was alright and I said yes. The guest went out for a smoke and I was pretty curious about this, so I checked on the computer to see who was staying in 323. To my horror, there was nobody checked into this room. I was very creeped out now. I started cleaning a bit and tried to make myself busy when the alarm in 323 went off. All the rooms have their own alarm. There's a panel behind the front desk where it displays all the rooms and the correlating alarms. I grabbed the front desk keys, went upstairs to room 323, and the door was of course locked. I unlocked the door and went in. It was really cold and I have no idea why. It was summer and the whole hotel was hot. This room was freezing. I turned off the alarm, locked and shut the door, and ran all the way back to the front desk, practically shitting my pants. Unfortunately, that's where the story ends, but I thought I'd share that one with you guys. Number 3. My parents were on their honeymoon to Key West. When they arrived at the hotel to check in, they were told that the room would be non-smoking. With my dad being a smoker, they requested a different room. They got the room switch and went to their room. As they got off the elevator, the smell of fresh paint was overwhelming. And down the hall, there was a painter with all the necessary supplies laid out around him and he was painting the wall. As my parents walked by him, they casually greeted him and the painter had absolutely no acknowledgement of their presence. Whatever. When they got to their room, the smell of paint was even worse in there. So bad that it wasn't even bearable, so they decided to go to the front desk to change rooms. When they explained the situation, the attendant looked very confused and informed them that there wasn't a scheduled paint job on that floor for that day, but agreed to change their room. My parents go back to their floor to grab their luggage and the painter is completely gone. All the supplies were cleaned up and gone within 10 minutes and the smell of paint was completely gone as well. At this point, my parents were freaked out but didn't think much of it and go to their new room. The next morning on their way to breakfast, they overhear a tour guide talking to a group. My parents tuned in when the guide mentioned the floor that they were originally supposed to stay on. Apparently, a long time ago there was a painter on that floor painting when he fell down the elevator shaft to his death. Now, my parents don't normally believe in the paranormal, but after an event like this that they had no explanation for, it freaked them out a good bit. Number 4. My name is Alex. I'm a 19-year-old guy and I've been working at a hotel in the US for about a year and 3 months now as a server and houseman. And so far, everything and everyone has been amazing. Nothing was unusual until a couple months after working at the hotel. Jen from Human Resources mentioned the name of a lady I had never heard before. Laura Ratcliffe. At first, I thought she was another employee, but I later found out that, well, she's the hotel ghost. To be honest, I wasn't really frightened. I was just confused because no one ever really told me or even mentioned her during the time I was working at the hotel. That is, until I started asking a couple people. A little description/background about Laura is that she was a Confederate spy born in Fairfax County in 1856. During the Civil War, she became an acquaintance of Major General J.E.B. Stuart. Long story short, she was married in 1890 and died in 1923. It is said that she was buried somewhere in the grounds of the hotel, but her grave was made in front of the hotel. They made her grave close to the hotel, as shown in this picture of the front of the hotel. Then there's the sign where it gives a brief description about her, but others say that she was buried somewhere else. I personally believe she was buried somewhere in the grounds of the hotel because, well, people have actually encountered Laura inside and outside of the hotel. I've never encountered Laura, and thank God I haven't, or else I would have panicked and left already. Anyway, some of the employees here have encountered Laura and shared a couple of stories. The following stories will be told in each employee's perspective after their name is listed. Some of these people have stories about other people they know encountering Laura. Now, on to the stories. We'll start with Amanda's stories. I started working in this hotel for about a year now as a housekeeper, but I also help the banquet department. I've had a few encounters with Laura. All the times that I've encountered her were always in the bathroom when trying to clean them. So one day I gather all of my cleaning products to go clean the bathrooms. Nothing was going on in the banquet department that day, which means that it's more probable that the bathrooms are clean. Either way, I went to go check them to see if they were clean since it is a public area and any guest could use them at any time. Since I was only going to go check the bathrooms really quick, I decided not to use my doorstop. As I go in the ladies' bathroom, I let the door close by itself. As the door closes, I feel as if someone or something touches my hair. Then I hear what sounds like a woman giggle in my ear. At first, I thought that one of the guests might have been using the bathroom, so I decide to ask if anyone is using the bathroom. No answer. I decide to check each and every one of the stalls. Nobody was in any of them. The next story didn't happen to me, but it happened to the father of one of the employees working here. He said that one night, before going home from work, he decides to take out the trash. As he opens the dumpster, he starts to have a weird feeling as if someone was watching him. He then throws the trash in the dumpster, but as soon as he closes it, he notices a woman 40 feet away just staring at him. Keep in mind that the dumpster area is part of the hotel, so we close the gate at night. We leave the gate open at day because that's where the cargo trucks go through. Anyway, this means that no person can get through the gate at night. This woman is wearing a white dress, has black hair, and is barefoot. He decides to walk in a fast pace. He turns around and realizes that the woman is following him. Only this time, she's a lot closer. As soon as he enters the kitchen, he turns around and the woman was gone. He grabs his coat and leaves. A couple weeks after this incident, he quits and starts working somewhere else. Now for Armando's story. I've been working as a houseman in the banquet department for a while now, and all I gotta say is that I believe all the stories about Laura because I saw her. We had a function one night and I was the one who had to stay longer than the rest of the employees to clean up. Keep in mind that our department is on the second floor, so all of our equipment is all the way at the back. It was probably around 2 a.m. After I vacuumed the foyer and the room where the function took place, I bring the cart where you can place the tables. It's easier to place them on the cart than carrying them one by one to the back. Anyways, as I start to make my way to the back, I start to have a weird feeling. It was as if someone was looking at me, so I decide to look back. As I turn around, at the other side of the foyer, I notice a woman. She is wearing a white dress and has black hair. She stares at my direction for a couple of seconds, turns around and walks the other way. At that moment, I leave the cart for a bit and make my way to the direction where the woman went. When I go there, I see a different lady. The following conversation goes like this. "Hi, ma'am, did you happen to walk by this area a couple seconds ago?" "No, I've been here the whole time waiting for my boyfriend." "Oh, well, did someone else happen to walk by?" No. Why?" I quickly make an excuse that I'm waiting for someone and I leave. I then go to the front desk department and ask one of the late night employees if I could check the cameras, and they say yes. As I'm checking the cameras, there's no sign of the woman in the white dress. The only person there was the lady I talked to. The whole thing was just extremely creepy to say the least. Lena's stories. I've been working in the room service department at this hotel for a while now, and all I have to say is that I've encountered Laura more than any of the employees here. Employees aren't the only ones who encounter her though, because I know some of the guests that say that they like to transfer to a different room. When I ask them why, they say that the guest next door is taking a shower late at night or that they're loud. And then when I ask the front desk about the room next to the guest, they say that no one has checked in. Anyways, on to my stories. So my first encounter happened on my first year working in this hotel. I had my cart one night, and what I was doing at that moment was collecting all the trays that the guests leave after they eat. Most of the time, they leave the trays outside of their room. Keep in mind that it's midnight and I'm on the 11th floor at that moment. The elevator for the employees is past the elevator for the guests. As I pass the guest elevator, I hear a woman sobbing. I think to myself, what would a woman be doing outside their room at this time? I leave my cart and I quickly go check who's crying. To my surprise, nobody was there. I then check the elevator, but nobody's in there either. I start thinking that it's my mind playing tricks on me, but I start getting goosebumps. I left immediately and completely forgot about my cart. I was working one night when I receive a call from one of the guests who wanted to order some food. I make the order, and while I'm waiting for the chef to finish making the food, I prepare the tray. Once I receive the food, I make my way to the room. I knock and wait for the guests to open the door, but no answer. I could see movements through the people, but they keep walking by. At this moment, I'm thinking that they probably didn't hear me knock, so I decide to knock again. This time, I hear someone walk to the door and they hold the doorknob, but they don't open the door. I know they're at the door because I can see the doorknob move, but they still have the door closed. I decide to back away from the door, and right when I look to my left, the guest, along with his wife, are walking towards my direction. They then said to me, "Oh, I see you got here before we did. We went downstairs to get the food ourselves, but the bartender said you were already gone and that you were probably at our door, so we got here as fast as we could so you wouldn't think that we weren't in the room." I didn't tell them that I thought I saw someone or something was in the room, because if it turned out to be Laura, I didn't want them to get scared or frightened, so I said that it was fine. I gave them their food, they closed the door, and that was it. Javier's story. One night, we had a big function, so we had some contractors. Contractors are people from a company that are sent to different hotels whenever those hotels need help. Anyways, Naomi, a contractor, and I were placing dirty plates close to the elevator to send them to the restaurant kitchen so the dishwasher can get them washed. I decide to take the elevator to ask the chef about the menu for the next day. The door of the elevator opens, and as soon as I put my foot in the elevator, I hear what sounds like a woman screaming. The scary part about this scream was that it wasn't a normal scream. It was one of those screams where it sounds like someone is getting tortured. I immediately run to the banquet kitchen and stay there for a while. Even though this happened a couple months ago, that scream will forever be stuck in my head.